Hello, I'm Janna, and welcome back to the Crafty Corner. Today, we're going to be making some Halloween-themed rosettes. And of course, we have to pull in some of the new Tim Holtz Idea-ology Halloween fringe. This stuff is pretty cool, two-tone, black and orange, perfect for the spooky holiday making season. If you'd like to see exactly which supplies we're going to be using, go ahead and pause here. All right, let's head over to the Crafty Corner. This is going to be part 2 of our swap making video. And today we're going to be working on embellishments. Lots of times in swaps, it is very common to make embellishments to trade with swap partners. So this is the swap that I've been working with. We kind of went through this in the last video. This is for Julie, and it's a Halloween swap. So today we're going to be focusing on the 4 or more crafter choice items, which in this case is referring to embellishments. I'd already made myself a little list over here. We're going to be looking at bows, rosettes, some fancy frames, and some banners. Today, we're going to be working on the rosettes and the fancy frames. So for that, I have pulled in the die set from the Vault Rosettes. This is going to be fun, and I love using this particular die set because it's great for all times of the year. And this can be made into any theme that you would like. So let's start right away. We're going to need 3 pieces of die cut paper. This is going to form the base of the rosette. We're going to need a handful of Idea-ology elements to decorate the rosette. I also have this really cool die cut spider web. This is from another Sizzix die. This is spider web, and that's going to give some really fun texture. So we have those elements, but of course I want to add some sparkle. And what better way to add some sparkle than with the brand new Tim Holtz Distress Rock Candy, Chunky. This glitter is very chunky. Take a look at all of that gorgeous, gorgeous glitter. Now, just for reference, I'm going to pull in the other bottle of glitter. By the way, I do love the new size, and side by side, you can absolutely tell the difference. This to me looks like sugar, and then this is like that really big chunky sugar that you might find on Christmas cookies during the holidays. So we're going to start off by customizing some of the chunky glitter, and then we'll get into the assembly of the rosette. So I have a little cup here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of glitter. I'm still waiting for my organizational tins to come in, so I'm not going to make a lot right now. I don't need a lot, just enough to add a little bit of sparkle to the rosette. And we've got our glitter in here. That's all nice. And we're going to be adding a dash of Ember alcohol ink to it. And off to the side, I do have a coffee filter set up so that I can spread this out and it will dry while I'm doing the rosette assembly. So I think that will be plenty right there. Don't need a lot. And I've got a mixing stick nearby. Just a plain old popsicle stick. And just mush that around, and there we go. It really doesn't take much, and look at that gorgeous, gorgeous color. So this is going to be a little damp for a bit, so I will set it off to the side to dry while we work on the foundation of our rosette. But take a look at that. That is gorgeous. Okay, so setting that aside. Now, for the rosette, pretty simple. We're just going to do a back and forth fold on these 3 pieces, and then we will be hot gluing them together. But we'll need to do a little bit of embellishment in between. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to start with the tab face up because I want it to interlock when we go to assemble. And we're just going to do a under, over until all 3 pieces are folded. So you got a pretty good idea of what's going on here. There's several ways you could fold. I like to just go with my fingers, and I find that's pretty quick, but there's other ways to go about this. All right, I'm going to just kick this on fast forward as we fold the rest of these, and then we'll get to the assembly. Here we go. We've got our 3 pieces all folded. Now we're just going to connect them together. So I've got my glue gun all heated up, and we're just going to take this, and in the trough we're going to run a short line of glue. Very good. And we're just going to make sure that our wavy sides are facing outwards and stick these together. There. So we have that section together. Now we'll just turn this and do the other side. So we'll just need a little bit of glue, and we can stick the next side in. Let's just take that, carefully lining that up. Okay. I think we're doing pretty good. And now we just have that one last little side to hook in. So again, just a small line of glue. And bring that around, and this is going to make a complete circle. Okay, so I'm just going to give that a moment. We've got this all set up and ready to go for the next step, but I do want to work on the center medallion that we're going to be using to help hold everything together. Next, we're going to be altering the rosette, and this is from the Holtz Sizzix impreslit medallion. These come in 2 different sizes, but I thought this would be fun and add some texture to our piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a distress crayon. I have some unraveled here, and that's just going to help highlight this. So we're just going to take the crayon, gently rub that across the top, and just give that a quick smush. As you can see, the detail immediately starts to pop. It's pretty cool. Okay, so nice simple alteration. And I also want to have the spider web ready because that is going to actually go behind the medallion and over the rosette. So the next thing that we're going to want to do, we're going to want our hot glue, and we're going to be pressing this down. This is kind of neat. Just kind of smush it down and it presses right into a circle. And we'll need some hot glue underneath so that we can stick everything together. So we'll just bring that hot glue gun back. We'll add our glue. Nice generous dollop. I'm going to set that down. We're going to take this, we're going to put it over the top. That comes down. I'm going to smush that the best that we can. That didn't smush as much as I thought it would. That's okay. So we're going to have to come back with the glue gun. Add a little bit more glue. I want that spider web in here. And the medallion. So I'm going to just try to hold that without getting my fingers burned. Let's take the web first. That can go there. Try not to let this run away. And the medallion goes over the top. And I'm just going to hold that while this takes a moment to set up. So here's the rosette with the medallion on it and the spider web. I love that. It looks really cool. The next thing that I think I want to do is add in our embellishments. No, actually I kind of want to do the glitter next. So I'm going to need some scrap paper. Let's just put that down. And we'll need collage medium. I want to run a good thick bead around the edges of the rosette. So let's just make sure that's going to flow. There we go. All right, and I'm just going to work my way around the rosette with the glue. Then we're going to go in with that beautiful chunky glitter, sprinkle it on, and we'll have a nice layer of sparkle added to this. So just being pretty generous with that glue. It's going to dry. And then we can add more of those fun embellishments from Idea-ology over the top. Now, the paper that I die cut from is this year's Idea-ology Halloween backdrops. And I gotta say, I love the stripy background. It's one of my favorites, and I'll probably have to get another pack of that paper because that had some really interesting designs that we haven't seen before. So I thought that was really fun. All right, time for the glitter. Now I've dumped it back into my little jar. And let's just go ahead and sprinkle it. That is going to be a very vibrant orange. As I said before, we really don't need a lot, just enough to cover this and add some sparkle. And I think we're going to have some lovely sparkle with this. So just continuing to tap. I'll probably have to reload this. Yep. There, giving that a quick little shake. And I need to dump that back into here because we need to stick more of that onto the rosette. There we go. Pretty good. Lifting this up and sprinkling more of that down so we have lovely coverage. Okay, that is going to look wonderful. I really do love that new chunky glitter. It's fun and just has great shine to it. All right, let's take a look. Ooh, I love it. Okay, so I'm just gonna set that down and we're gonna pour the rest of that glitter back into the little thing. Not a whole lot left over. I think I almost judged it perfectly. So that's cool. And we're just going to slide this back into view. And now I want to add our embellishments to it. So we've got all sorts of things here. And when I'm adding embellishments, I kind of just like to place things first and then kind of figure out where I'm going with it. There we go. This is great. I just love all of the little different things that we have here. I'm kind of debating about how I want to go about this because I really want that web to show. And I've got this really cool cat. I've been hanging on to him for a bit. Just waiting to find the right project. There we go. Ooh, he's gonna fit right there. I like it. Okay. I'm not quite sure. I want to do something. Doesn't quite feel cohesive yet. Well, I know I want the cat right there. So that part I've got to figure out, and I really like where the purple stamp is. But I'm not sure about anything else. Let's see. I do like the pumpkin. The pumpkin works. Then maybe if we move this just a little bit out, I could tuck the 13 right here. Yeah. Okay, I think I like that. We are going to go with that. So just going to slide these pieces out, get some glue, and then I can tuck them right back in. And this is why I kind of like to place things first before I commit to their final location, because I'm very likely to change my mind. That's part of the construction phase, just figuring out where things go and then deciding if they're going to stay there. Okay, and this. Pretty good. Let's lift that up. We'll get that little purple stamp. And let's get this down. There. And I want that pumpkin. Very good. And the cat. Okay, I would call that rosette completed. Very happy with that. So we're going to go ahead and set this aside, and we're going to take a look at some spooky frames next. And we'll just carefully lift that and let it dry. Great. So this is another impreslit, and I think these are really, really fun. And we're going to be playing with them and seeing what we can make. So these are the fancy frames, and it's an impreslit. I die cut these out of some Idea-ology metallic craft stock. I've got one in black and one in gold, and I also have a small sheet of embossed paper that I'm going to use as a backer. This is from an older embossing folder. Of course it's a Tim Holtz, but I have no idea what it is. It's really old. It's got the little flourishy things on it. All right, so first things first, I'm going to roughly cut a background piece for the frame. So I've got my snips and recoil scissors, and we're just going to very carefully cut this out. Good. So let's go ahead, we'll add some glue. This part's not going to be overly neat, but what's in the background is in the background, so it shouldn't be noticed too much. Okay, so we've got that. Now I'll probably need to tuck this into the frame just a little bit, or maybe not, I'm not sure. But I want to do that with some foam squares because I do want a little bit of lift. So, well, let's see what we can do. I think I only need 2. All right, so we'll just peel those off. And this is going to go here. Ooh, I like that already. Now, these don't really need a whole lot done to them, but I just wanted to make a really fun and spooky embellishment. And I love all the texture that we're getting here. The next thing that I want to do is add a bat. So we're just going to take this bat, and I can't remember, do I want this here or there? I think down here is actually going to look better. There. So now we've got that. That is pretty neat. Now the last thing that I want to do is add a small layer of glitter. And I don't know how many of you remember this, but there is something called Nightfall glitter. It's a beautiful black glitter. It's from the line of Distress, and it was a holiday only item. Not overly available on the market at the moment, but if you have it in your stash, I strongly suggest using it. And if you don't have it in your stash, try coloring the chunky rock candy glitter with some black, I believe it's pitch black alcohol ink, and you'll get a pretty cool effect. But since I have this in the stash, I do want to use it. So the next thing that I'm going to do is add just a little bit of glue. I'm just going to do a little bit of an outline here, and then we'll sprinkle the glitter on. So it's not going to be a ton of glitter, but just enough for a bit of an accent. There we go. All right, and again, I'm bringing in my scrap paper. And that's pretty glittery. Okay, And just tap that off. Okay, let's take a closer look. So here we go. We've got our frame, we've got our glitter. That's got a nice creepy vibe to it. Not a whole lot needed for altering, but I'm loving the effect. We're going to do one more frame because I do have a couple of tricks that I wanted to use on a different style frame. So we'll set this one aside to dry. And of course, carefully tip that lovely glitter right back into the jar. Doesn't take a whole lot when altering things, so I like to try to save as much as I can by using that paper to catch the extra bits. Okay, there we go. Now, for the second frame, we're going to be using one of these, and the only thing that's going to be different is that we're going to want a black soot distress crayon, because that frame is just too shiny and we're going to grunge it just a bit. You could use a brown, but I feel like using some black soot today. So all I'm doing is scribbling a bit on to catch those highlights. Then we'll smush it around with a finger. Nothing fancy, but very effective, because it's going to give us a really neat tarnished look. And if we put too much on, we can always dab it off. There, so I'm just kind of smushing it with my fingers, wiping off some of the excess until we've got something grungy. That is perfect. I'm very happy. So again, I'm going to need some of that backer paper. Okay, good. And more glue around the back. And then we can add that last portrait in. Good. I really like how we've got all this texture today. Embossing folders and impresslits. Alright, so we've got that. And we're going to need our two little foam squares. Okay. And we can stick that right down. And again, I kind of want to just throw in a bat just because. I think that looks good even on the gold frame, so why not? We'll add another bat, just because we can. Now for this one, I'm actually going to pull in some stickles because I want this to have little highlights of red. So I'm just gonna find that and add it. All right, so I've got some Ranger stickles here, and this one is Christmas red. So I'm just gonna add a few drops here and there, and this frame will be done. Ooh, I like that. Kind of going like for a little bit of a vampire theme with these. So the red is kind of making me think of like little drops of blood. I like it. It's kind of creepy in a good way. But you could also read these as like maybe little gems on a fancy frame. So there's more than one way to look at this. Ooh, I hope the camera's picking it up, but that red is so pretty. Okay. And that's another frame done. I'm just going to hold that up. I really hope we can catch all that beautiful red. There we go. That is pretty neat. Okay, so we've got our 2 frames, we got a rosette, and you know what? Let's do one more rosette. I just want to show how this one is made. I shared this earlier in the week on social media, but I think it'd be interesting to see the steps that go with it. So this is another one of the rosettes. This one I actually use some of the Tim Holtz paper. It's the 6x6. This is from Salvaged, and we die cut another medallion out of some Idea-ology metallic craft stock. Same process, but let's decorate these because why not? This one is going to be more pumpkin themed. I've got a whole bunch of little pre-made pumpkins that I did a while ago that I thought would be fun to add in. And what we're going to do is make a little vine, and we'll need some distress spray stain to color this in. This is a really neat chunk of ribbon. I got this during a swap and I just thought it was really cool and it reminded me of vines. For the distress spray stain, we're going to be pulling in some twisted citron. What I'm going to do is give this a couple of little sprays. Just some water to make sure that it stays down. And now we're going to give 2 generous sprays of the spray stain. All right. Now I'm just going to mop that up. Got a nice little puddle of color. And I'll be back in a moment after I've had a chance to dry this off. And then we can get to the fun part of assembly. So first things first, let's add some glue. And we'll be able to put that vine down. There we go. So just very carefully, I'm going to place this on here, and then we can add in the pumpkins. There we go. All right. Just trying to very carefully keep that in place. Make sure it gets stuck into the glue good. I'm thinking that's pretty good. Now let's add some pumpkins. So we're just going to take these and place them in. And this is hopefully going to look like a little pumpkin patch. I'm very excited about this. It just made me really happy when this little idea came together. Put that one over here. There we go, and I've got 2 more to go. Put this one over here. And 1 more. All right. Pretty good. Now the next thing we're going to do is add just a little bit of black soot to these 2 chipboard quotes. I forgot last time to take care of the raw edges, and raw edges I'm not a fan. So I do try to remember to black those out when using my chipboard quotes. There we go. I find it looks more finished. Okay, and that side and this side. There we go. Over here. Down the sides. That's good. All right, so pretty happy. Now I just need a dash of glue and that will be good. So we've got our glue. Put that, just want to lift that leaf up. Gonna put that right here. And now the second one. There. All right, I'm liking it quite a bit. And the last thing that we're going to do is add a dash of sparkling glitter, kind of like there's a frost on the ground. So let's just take our glue. We're going to run that all the way around the rosette, and then we get to dump the glitter on, which I think is the best part. Bit more here. All right. Now for the glitter. Oh, I really love this new chunky stuff. It is so sparkly good. All right, and I'm just going to work my way around the edge, kind of dumping as we go. Just trying to keep everything lined up. Okay. Ooh, sparkly, sparkly good. Okay. And that is done. So we'll be back in a bit after this has had a chance to dry, so you get the full effect of that gorgeous, gorgeous glitter. All right. Now, just very quickly, let's dump that right back into the jar and let our things dry. As always, drying time will vary from climate to climate, zone to zone. I'm giving this a rough estimate of 40 minutes. I was very generous with the glue, so I do expect it to take a little bit longer to dry. All right, see you in a bit.